on.
Good morning, Vicky.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Ashes to Rubies conversational podcast on life in recovery. I wish I could say that.
Where we talk about recovery and related incidences in our lives.
Marriage? Does marriage come up?
Marriage has come up. Sex has come up.
Oh,
remember?
once.
We didn't talk about sex for like a year, and then all of a sudden we talked about sex.
No, we talked about not talking about sex.
And then people were texting in saying that, look at John's face, how red it is.
We just talked about talking about sex. We didn't even
talk
about
sex. We talked about the talking about the sex, but never actually talked about sex. I feel like we're on the verge of talking about sex. So this is horrible.
No. I was trying to come up with something else.
Women like talking about sex.
Hey, look at my cute pug.
Look at that pug. Handshake for the pug.
So, but we also have a podcast. So this is being video live streamed, but it's being podcast live streamed so that people can just listen to the audio.
Yeah. The kids nowadays are all about that podcast. I thought podcast was like in our age bracket, but then going through all of our media stuff, the people that were helping us set everything up were like, why don't you guys have a podcast? And they're all young.
You make it sound like we're actually like professional because we had people helping us, but we're not. We're still amateurs.
Until that changes. We're amateurs. Amateur hour. Let's talk about sex now. No, let's not. What do you got to talk about?
You don't actually like to talk about the sex. You just...
What are you trying to talk about? Is there anything to talk about? Do you have anything to talk about, or can I get into our reading?
We should really do our reading. We're gonna read our devotional, something that we can meditate on. So it's gonna be a concept,
a conversational meditation, and I would say a thoughtful meditation. So we bring the thought throughout the day.
The conversation part isn't the meditation part. You read it, converse about it, and then you take it away with you and you meditate on it. Meditating is like chewing.
Think about it, pray about it,
chew on
invite God to speak to you about it. Yeah, that's what we try to do. All right, so we're in a humility vein. And
it's about humility again.
And we love talking about the humility because it's something, it's like a pink unicorn.
Humility is a pink unicorn.
It's like, I thought I saw one, but not really. Okay, so this one is called A Measure of Humility. Thank you for joining us. Buddy, are you awake? You know, listen. In every case, pain had been the price of admission to a new life. Pain was the admission. But this admission price had purchased more than we expected. It brought a measure of humility, which we soon discovered to be a healer of pain.
Humility is a healer of pain.
There's a lot to think about in that one. It was painful to give up trying to control my life, even though success eluded me. And when life got too rough, I drank to escape. Or used, or whatever, fill in the blank. Accepting life on life's terms will be mastered through the humility I experience when I turn my will and my life over to the care of God as I understood him. My will being my thinking, my life being my action, and to a caring God. I love that. As I understood. With my life in God's care, fear, uncertainty, and anger are no longer my response to these portions of life that I would rather not have happen to me. The pain of living through these times will be healed by the knowledge that I have received the spiritual strength to survive. That's a deep one. This is deep waters. I think the most painful experience, the price that I had to pay, the admission charge, I can look back. I'm just reflecting right now. 2, 3. 1, we were still together and I was out of control. Like I was not in control. And I was at a hotel room for a few days and I walked out of there with nothing, no emotions, no nothing. And I remember calling you from a payphone and it was raining. And I was just walking down Rideau Street, I think. And I just said, I'm done. And you were like, done what? Wrecking my life. I don't even know what you said, but it was like, I felt like this gaping hole into hell. that I was being pushed into or dragged into. And then I think another one was about us, where I could tell, and it was another bender, and we were talking, and I could just tell that you left me emotionally. Like, you left me spiritually and emotionally, and I felt something rip out of my heart. And then the biggest pain was when drugs and alcohol actually stopped working. They were causing more disturbance. They were causing paranoia and voices, and like, it was a really dark, dingy place. And I was considering trying not to wake up. Like, that was the pain that got me to talk to my dad, actually. And then my dad said, "Go talk to this man, little short French guy that had started Jericho Road." And I remember sitting in his office, and all he said is, "Go to the homeless shelter, to a rehab." It's like,
Go to a
okay,
homeless shelter. Like, who do you think I am?
The price of the admission, that's what it was, is the pain that I was willing to do anything, even go to a homeless shelter.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's significant because, I mean, you didn't live on the street. You
Actually, I had a home
owned a
in a
house.
homeless
You
shelter.
had a car. You always had I mean, we led a double life. So from the outside, people wouldn't have even necessarily realized what was going on.
Mm.
So I mean, if you were close enough, but I'm just saying, like, to be willing to go move into a homeless shelter, like to pack your bags and say, like, yeah, I'm just going to go. I don't have any other choice. And I think that is a huge step of humility. And I think desperation can bring humility.
Mm-hmm.
Like, desperation can take us to a place of humility, or we can stay stuck in our.
So then, if I was to ask you a personal question, what was your pain that was the price of admission into recovery?
So I remember I remember reflecting on, like, who I had become. And so, like, you'd be gone for a few days and I would just not be, I'm trying to take care of kids, and I'm mean, I'm short-tempered, I don't have patience, I can't play with them, I can't do anything, like, I'm just not functional, and I didn't want to be that person. Like, and I saw myself, like, I remember moments of, like, yelling at Jordan and just being like, this is not who I want to be. And, and then probably some of the most significant, and I remember leaving you emotionally. Like, I remember that. It's like
No, but I'm talking about the admission into your recovery.
For me, like, no, but I remember, like, like, it's like a switch flips,
Mm-hmm,
and
mm-hmm.
So I remember being so out of control, so angry and so out of control. It's like I was possessed, and just, like, looking, like, after it passes and you're physically and emotionally exhausted after being, like, through a rage. I was physically and emotionally exhausted having gone through a rage.
Again, you're talking 16 years ago.
Yeah. Because that's when I first went to get help.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So I just was like, I can't do this anymore. Like, who am I? I'm not this person.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm not a person who physically attacks someone else. Like,
and you're making me phone call. You're calling me 300 times, and you're trying to track me down, and you're driving around.
I was crazy. I remember thinking, like, oh, I get it. I get why women, like, slash a tire. Like, people do crazy.
Okay, let's not talk criminal.
I didn't do that, but I.
So then your pain was just.
So my pain was so great that I started going to Al-Anon meetings. Mm-hmm. I went to Al-Anon meetings for a couple of years, like at least a year before you went to any treatment whatsoever. And that is where I started, like, the desperation kind of flipped into, like, oh, I'm holding on to this. Like, I had demanded a house. I had demanded a car.
For you to be okay. Like,
Yeah, I
I need you to get me a car. I need a house.
Yeah.
I need my own house, and then everything will be
I remember
okay.
very specifically like saying like we need to get a house, and we got a house, and then we got a house, and you got so bad, and I was like, well, now I have this house, like, and so the humility piece for me, or the pride piece for me, was like, well, now I have this house and this life and this job, and I'm trying to show
Hold
up.
it all together.
Yeah, I'm trying to show up in life as this person that I'm not, as this great mom taking her kids to hockey,
a government
job, all these things. And I'm like crazy inside. And I just couldn't manage it anymore.
So you cashed in your humility
cashed in
card.
my chips and
Here's my
went to
pain.
Al-Anon.
And there you are. So we want to leave you with this weekend of like, what was your pain of admission to get into recovery? Or if you're not in recovery, I just invite you into a place of recovery. We have LifeLab. There's a link below. I would love to give you a free membership. Also, we have a Wednesday noon meeting, so come and join us. It's an open discussion meeting. There is a speaker who talks about recovery, and then we talk about that concept. So join us Wednesday. Join us for LifeLab, and we will see you. Have a great weekend.
And feel free to reach out.
Feel free to reach out.
Or
email, MSM, DM. Keep
Thanks
the peace.
for listening.
Be a good behavior, and we'll see you later this week.